this was actually way off from the time that I said I was gonna start this live, and a lot was happening today. So without further ado, I'm gonna go straight into this. This is like an hour after 10, so I just wanted to talk about this. This has been something that's been talked about for the past week, and as I've said in my previous videos, I'm not really entertaining a lot of politics, but I know I have to give my commentary about it because there's a lot of things that I see that I want to call out and kind of bring light on these situations. But the comments that Trump made over Rob Reiners' death is just, it's inexcusable. Now I may lose some subscribers off of this, but it is what it is. I'm just gonna let you know from here on out. Me right now, I'm not aligning myself with no political party. Even though I say I have more conservative views on certain issues, I really don't like the labels. We already got enough labels, and there's so much division going on in this country because of politics. And these politicians, it's just nothing more than like a clown show. But I'm going to play this from the View, and I know I've already said that I don't agree with the View. I don't watch the View as much, but I just want to show you the part where he actually made the comment, and most of y'all have already seen it, but I'm just gonna cover and just break it down. So bear with me. Like I said, I'm using my phone in the live. This is a small channel. I don't have the flashiest equipment. I'm just using what I have. You gotta start somewhere. So yeah, here's this right here. Hold on. Let's see if it's gonna play. Okay.
Pouring in over the tragic deaths of Rob and Michelle Reiners. But the empathy stops at the White House. Here's what you know who is responding to backlash over his shameful post yesterday. Take a look.
Mr. President, a number of Republicans have denounced your statement on Truth Social after the murder of Rob
Hold on,
Reiner.
y'all. Hold on.
Stand by that post?
Well, I was in a
Sorry. The ring light that I'm using now is y'all may see the reflection of that, so my apologies for that. But like I said, I'm just working with what I have. So let me put this in full screen so you can see everything. Now, one thing is the news, they do cut certain things off to make you look bad, or they make you look like you're saying something. They've done this to Trump plenty of times, but right here, he said what he said. This is just the whole thing. Like, there's no cut, no edits. He said what he said. He put it on his on Truth Social. You know, you're wrong on this, Trump. But I'm gonna play this, and then I'm gonna explain how both sides are hypocritical. Watch.
Fan of his at all. He was a deranged person as far as Trump is concerned. He said he knew it was false. In fact, it's the exact opposite, that I was a friend of Russia, controlled by Russia. You know, it was the Russia hoax. He was one of the people behind it. I think he hurt himself in career-wise. He became like a deranged person, Trump derangement syndrome. So I was not a fan of Rob Reiner at all, in any way, shape, or form. I thought he was very bad for our country.
You know who is bad for the country?
Okay, we're gonna pause it right there because we already know that they're gonna talk bad about Trump. Now, here's the thing. And I've already said this, that there's some things I agree with what he's doing, and there's some things I'm disagreeing with. But right now, he's making a lot of screw ups, if you will. I'm just gonna put it in the nicest terms, because how would you just openly mock somebody after they died in that manner? Let's not forget what happened back in September, okay? Charlie Kirk got assassinated in front of a lot of people. And how did the country react? They were mocking him. kicking it, and that's the true definition of kicking the dead horse. The person has already passed, has already died in a very tragic way, and here you are, you're still kicking them. And you know, just for that, let me search this about this verse. Now, this Bible verse came to me earlier. When it comes to things like this, if you're in, if someone is already down, why continue to keep kicking them? If they already done for, you know, I don't get why people just still talk, and then they expect not to get no backlash. Like I said, when this happened, the first thing that ran to my mind is y'all just forgot that there was a lot of people that lost their jobs because they were mocking Charlie Kirk. So with that same energy, why can't you keep a certain decorum and be, at least how like can you at least have some decency when you're you know I don't know. This is just beyond me. But let me find that verse. Let me find the verse. Let me see. Where is it? All right, so here it is. It's Proverbs 24:17-18. Okay. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Is this one it right here? Oh, that one doesn't show the full version. Oh, that's the English Standard Version. Let me find. All right, now. All right, no, this live. It is what it is. I was supposed to go live around 10 o'clock. It's already past 11 my time, Eastern time. But I'm going to have to finish off what I say I will. Anybody that's going to catch the replay, I'll try to do the best I can to respond to whatever comments. But I doubt I'm going base. I doubt that I'm going to get any anything out this live because, as I said before, my schedule right now, I'm trying to stay consistent. Let's see, Proverbs 24, verse 17 through 18. Okay. Now, it can get very hard sometimes. It depends on who it is, especially if somebody has done you wrong or has said some very hurtful things that hurt your reputation or just hurt you as a person or even come and attack your family. Sometimes it will be hard to have some empathy for that person when they fall. Because knowing good and well at the same time, I've heard some things to where, yes, he said some things about Trump, but at the same time, you don't stoop down to that level. You get what I'm saying? But as a leader, I understand, you can't let people or worry about what people say. That you may make some decisions that may piss off a lot of people over here, but then over here you have some people that agree with you. So that's understandable. But this right here is totally different. This right here just comes down to just decency and whatever comments that you have to say, you don't have to go more in depth. And actually Rob Reiner, he made a comment about Charlie Kirk, after the assassination. So now that I played you that part, I want you to hear also, after we read this verse, what he said in regards to Charlie Kirk's assassination. So, all right, this is the verse right here. Proverbs 24, verse 17. It says, "Rejoice not when thy enemy falleth, and let not thy heart be glad when he stumbleth." That can be a very hard thing to do, especially when somebody, as I've said, they don't like you. They're doing anything, and they're going out their way to taint your reputation and hurt you as a person. They can hurt you mentally, physically, verbally. You know, as we seen, because what's going on now, that the reason why I'm saying that the political spectrum is such a clown show, because all these theatrics, these people going back and forth calling each other names. That's why I've already said, the past 5 years for me, thinking about it, is like I've seen the best, the worst of both sides. I've seen the worst on the Democratic side, and I've seen the worst on the Republican side, because right now there's a lot of fallouts. Like, so much stuff happened this year. I think it was back in March. I know definitely it was after the election. It wasn't too. It wasn't too shortly after the. I said too shortly, not too short. It was. It wasn't too long after the election that Trump and Elon had that fallout. So, and then the whole thing with Marjorie Taylor Greene, that's a whole nother thing to look at. And it was something in regards to the Epstein files. But as I've said, I'm taking, like I said, I've seen the worst of both sides, and right now, you know, there's some things that's being done that is kind of breaching upon, like, it was something called international law. I still have to look more into that. But as far as with him shooting these different vessels coming from Venezuela, all in the name of them being drug um, or being involved in drug trafficking and that kind of stuff. So I still have to look more into that. But I want to find a video that. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. That's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. I need to clean. If y'all were to look, I have a lot of tabs and stuff running on my computer. I really gotta clean this out. Real talk. Because some things are moving very slowly, and yeah, I'm gonna have to actually change this live too. I'm gonna have to change some titles. Let me see. Rob comment, and you know he's been a staple to Hollywood over the years. He's been a staple to sitcoms, and I've been hearing that a lot of things, like my dad and parents, anyone out there that's definitely older than me, um, definitely older, like older than 30, can understand that a lot of shows came off of All in the Family. So, you know, for you to, you know, diss someone just on everything, but then, you know, they've made these different shows from the past, but that really just shows you that time changes things. So right now I'm just saying whatever's coming to my mind. I'm just giving y'all my opinion. I'm still trying to do more research because I've taken a break from all of this. It's getting so tiring. Let me start running my mouth, because let me get straight to the point. But um, comment about Charlie Kirk. It's almost 12 o'clock where I'm at. This live was supposed to be done 2 hours ago, almost 2 hours ago, about an hour and a half. Let's see. All right, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Okay, so this is a video that was about 7 days ago. But it's basically like a resurface clip about his initial thoughts about Charlie Kirk's death. So, just for the sake of time, there's longer ones, there's longer videos. Y'all can probably search them. Let me do it over here so that way, cause that ring light's kind of outshining what's on the screen. So, let's see. I'm gonna look at the one that's 1 minute, and then y'all, y'all can check this out if y'all want. I'm just, cause I did watch this clip, but I just want y'all to hear this. How completely, I want y'all to like listen, hear what he had to say. He kept everything political out of it. Just watch. Just watch. Just watch. All right, let's rewind it back. Let's rewind it back. Hold on to the beginning. Okay.
About the murder of Charlie Kirk. What was
All right.
your immediate
All right.
reaction?
For those that may be watching it live, I'm just reiterating that my setup is very small. I'm a small channel. It's not all flashy and stuff, so I'm working with my phone and my camera, my computer. So I'm talking about the comments that Trump had made that's receiving a lot of backlash, and I'm just doing a comparison of how he reacted to, how Trump reacted to Rob Reiners' death versus Charlie Kirk versus Rob Reiner commenting on Charlie Kirk's assassination and his death. And I just want y'all to hear the complete difference between how they both react, because it's a distinct difference. Just listen.
Well, horror, absolute horror, and I unfortunately saw the video of it, and it's beyond belief what happened to him, and that should never happen to anybody. I don't care what your political beliefs are. That's not acceptable. That's not a solution to solving problems. And I felt like what his wife said at the service that the memorial they had was exactly right. And totally, I believe, I'm Jewish, but I believe in the teachings of Jesus, and I believe in doing to others, and I believe in forgiveness. And what she said to me was beautiful, and absolutely, she forgave his assassin, and I think that is admirable.
Okay. All right, so that's that. Now, hearing that compared to this right here, hold on. Let me rewind back. Hearing what Rob Reiner just said in his reaction on Charlie Kirk's death versus what Trump had to say about his death. I want y'all to notice a complete difference.
Do you stand by that post?
Well, I wasn't a fan of his at all. He was a deranged.
So he's pretty much defending his post on here.
Over his shameful post.
And like I said, I don't too much care for the view because it's called the view for a reason. There's only one view. If there's like a Republican to go on there, there's just like a certain kind of feeling in the air, especially if they ever say something. There's a lot of clapping for those that agree with them, whatever somebody that's on the opposite side of the political spectrum. But whenever a Republican says something, it may not get that much applause. That's just one thing I noticed. The other lady, I think Alyssa, that sits on the far end of the table to the right. If you're watching like the screen, like far. Anyway, she'll probably make some comments. She may get some applause, but to be real with you, some people will still kind of pander to the other side. And like I said, I really don't like politics, but um, whenever there's like some conservative things that may be said, then it may not get that much applause because everybody's already one-sided from the get-go. But I mean, this right here, it doesn't make any sense. Hearing what Rob Reiners said about Charlie Kirk and his assassination and how it should have never happened. Notice he kept politics out of it. He said, "I don't care, about your political affiliation or anything like that. It should have never happened." And when people made the comments about Charlie Kirk and watch your neck and all this stuff, it's like, there was a certain attitude toward those people. They lost their job. I mean, rightfully so, because you shouldn't be making those comments about anyone's death like that, especially if you don't know the person. Now, there's been some things to where they said, Charlie Kirk was a racist. That stuff. As far as I know, anyone could be a racist. Even the person that is like standing with you, Black Lives Matter, what are they doing to help improve the black community other than just marching with y'all when someone dies that gets killed by the officer or somebody that is of an opposite color and not black? But as soon as there's a reporting of shootings over the weekend, especially here in Atlanta, we hear it all the time on the news. I don't even like turning the news on, and I've already told y'all that plenty of times, but I know I have to kind of stay in the loop so that way I can know what's going on. And also, like I said, I still have to give my take on certain issues because, there's things that come to my mind. I'm like, yeah, I know I should say that, but I really want to take a break from that because it gets overwhelming at times. But there's certain things that that more light needs to be shined on. That's why right now I'm doing this live. It's very simple. I'm working with something. Look, a computer. I don't have a fancy setup. This is a ring light that I'm using. But anyway, going back to this, a very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director. You see how he tried to start off all good? It's pretty much like the economy. There's a peak, it's like, okay, he's getting somewhere, and then you just drop down to a recession. That's exactly how this comet is. This is where the peak is. A very sad thing happened last night. You know how you have a climax in a story? Well, this right here is like a climax, and then the peak is Rob Reiner, a very a tortured, Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away together with his wife Michelle. That's the peak, reportedly due to the anger he caused others. I say, you know what? You lost me right there. You lost me, Trump. When I first saw and heard his comments, I'm like, you started off all good. What were you doing? Come on, man. Y'all had that same energy for those that were mocking Charlie Kirk, his death. But as soon as somebody that dies that is not in any shape or form in agreement with your political stance or with you politically, you don't show any kind of respect. You're just saying whatever. And I mean, I understand comments that he made in the past. I get that. I understand that. But Rob Reiner, even though he may have not agreed with Charlie Kirk and his politics, he never included anything about yeah, I didn't really like him. He said racist things. He didn't say none of that. He said it should have never happened to anyone, regardless of your political affiliation. The what I realized is when I graduated out of high school, I realized that I didn't graduate out of school. I just graduated into a bigger school, like out there in the world. That's the bigger school because you're still learning, especially dealing with these crazy people out here. We have a bunch of diaper wearing adults still wearing Pampers, haven't grown, complaining, saying things that just truly disgusting. You would think that a person still in school would say, a middle schooler. This is crazy. A whole bunch of diaper wearing adults. That's a new term that I just came up with. I said because nobody's grown yet. You just gotten into a new school. You're still learning things in life. So as far as I know, for me, based off of what I was, based off of what I observed over the past 5 years, is that we really haven't graduated. Just based off what I realized, because there's still people that haven't grown up in the mind. They're still doing things that's immature. They don't know when to chill out. Like, okay, this is not the best time to say anything. And I've already showed you. I already showed the verse. Those that are new, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Rob Reiners situation, and prayers, condolences for his family during this difficult time. It says, "Rejoice not when thy enemy falleth, and let not thine heart be glad when he stumbleth." That's what happened with Charlie Clerk. But now that Trump made that comment, that's what's going on. That's what he's doing. If y'all read the Bible, and see, the thing about it is most of these politicians, they don't even read the Bible themselves. You know, you want to hold the Bible up in front of the church. You know what? Let me find the picture so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Y'all probably know the picture I'm talking about. Trump holding the Bible in front of church. Okay, here's the picture right here. Okay, that's the picture I'm talking about right there. I know there's ring lights in the way. There's plenty of the other pictures. Okay, you have to be an example, especially if you're a Christian nation, and even with that, you can make things overly religious because that's going to lead to church and state. And I understand that this country was founded, you know, by the Protestants when they were fleeing persecution in England. That's a long story because Catholicism versus Protestantism, there's a key distinction. But what we're seeing right now, that's being united back. That's a whole different topic. I may go over that on another live, or I may just make a commentary video about that because there's a lot of things to dissect when it comes to the church and state issue. But going back to this video here. All right.
Take a look.
Mr. President, a number of Republicans have denounced your statement on Truth Social after the murder of Rob Reiner. Do you stand by that post?
Well, I wasn't a fan of his at all. He was a deranged person as far as Trump is concerned. He said he knew it was false. In fact, it's the exact opposite, that I was a friend of Russia, controlled by Russia. You know, it was the Russia hoax. He was one of the people behind it. I think he hurt himself in career-wise. He became like a deranged person, Trump derangement syndrome. So I was not a fan of Rob Reiner at all, in any way, shape, or form. I thought he was very bad for our country.
You know who's bad for the country?
I already know what they're gonna say. he's bad for the country. That's what they're gonna say. I'm just gonna finish it. I'm just gonna finish what they're gonna say. I already know they were gonna say that. So seeing that, his reaction, defending his comments about the situation versus what Rob Reiner had to say. Okay, we're gonna play that one again.
First heard about the murder
One
of
more
Charlie
time.
Kirk, what was your immediate gut reaction to it?
Back in
Well, horror.
September.
Absolute horror. And I unfortunately saw the video of it, and it's beyond belief what happened to him, and that should never happen to anybody. I don't care what your political beliefs are. That's not acceptable. That's not a solution to solving problems. And I felt like what his wife said at the service, that the memorial they had, was exactly right. And totally, I believe, I'm Jewish, but I believe in the teachings of Jesus, and I believe in doing to others, and I believe in forgiveness. And what she said to me was beautiful, and absolutely, when she forgave his assassin, and I think that is admirable.
All right. So that was the last for that. Y'all can go watch these videos and do more research of your own, because I know I need more research. Well, I have more research to do. I have a lot of stuff in my mind, and I'm trying to articulate everything. Sometimes it can be kind of hard to say everything, clearly sometimes. And yeah, like I said, this is like the first time I'm actually trying to get in the lives. There's gonna be some times where I mess up, but it is what it is over time. And after I build, confidence, then it'll be like riding a bike without the training wheels. I gotta start somewhere, because I don't have the best setup as of yet. But one thing I just remembered is that Trump also, we forget things because so much has happened, so much has transpired over the past 5 years. He almost lost his life last year when that bullet grazed his ear. See, sometimes, some things we just forget. Things that we've been brought out of, very horrible situations, and then we go back around and do the same thing, or we hurt someone else, but we don't realize where we came from. So Trump right now, I don't know. I really don't know what to say. He really needs to, because God has ways of humbling people, but I guess apparently that one incident did not really wake him up. Like literally, the bullet grazed your ear, and then you just continue on doing what you're doing. You make comments like this. Like, I can understand you can disagree with someone, but why do that when they're down? I just read the verse earlier. Rejoice not when your enemy stumbles. Like, yeah, right here. Rejoice not when thy enemy falleth, and let not thine heart be glad when he stumbleth. So, with that being said, you've already seen death multiple times, and especially last year, the one in July of 2024, that should have been his wake up call to be like, you know what, I need to get right. Yes, I know I'm going to have people that's going to talk about me, that kind of stuff. But for me to stoop down to this level and diss someone, even when they're down, it's just nasty work. It's nasty work, man. Come on. And yes, there's gonna be things that you do as a leader that other people may disagree with, and you can't give a care. You can't care about what other people are gonna think or say based off an action that you did. But you also have to really have to think before you say things, because what happens is whatever comes out, it's not gonna come back in. You can't take back what you said, and you already know how people on TikTok, how it'll be on the shorts algorithm. They would just use one clip and they'll just keep recycling, keep recycling, keep recycling, and this right here is really tainting his reputation because, like I said, it's complete hypocrisy. Charlie Kirk, people mocked his death, and then here it is now. You won't have the decency to at least, say, what happened to him was tragic, um, because his son apparently, um, Rob Reiners' son, had mental health problems before all this even happened. So they've already had talks to him about that, and also his drug issue because he was addicted to drugs. Okay, so let me search that up because we're gonna bring this live to a close. It's already late, and I really need to do some more research so that way I can have more stuff lined up. And definitely be consistent because, like I said, I was supposed to be live like an hour ago. It's already past an hour. It's like an hour and a half. So let's see. This is what it is about his son. Okay, hold on. We're gonna read that later on, but at the same time, you have to be careful of the sources that you get your news from because sometimes, like I said, the news is fake. That's another thing. AI. Oh my goodness. AI. I have some people that's advocating strongly. I'm not going to mention no names. There's some people that rely on AI for everything. And I've already said this. It's, had me to disagree with one of my close friends. I told him, hey, I'm not saying that AI is bad. All I'm saying is the over dependency on it is a real issue. Because if we were to think that AI is going to replace human intelligence, we are screwed. To put it in the nicest terms, I'm doing the best that I can. I'm not going to use any curse words or any swear words, but literally, if we were to think that AI will be that good or that intelligent enough to replace human intelligence, we're damned. Understand that. We're damned because you know why? Because everybody would be lazy. That's where it's going to right now. I know I'm kind of straight off of this topic that we're talking about, but like I said, there's a lot of things to cover. A lot of things has transpired within this year, all the way back from January, and it's hard to believe that we're in December already. I made a video earlier, yesterday, that it was the New Year's resolution. Be sure to check that out, for more context of what I'm actually talking about right now. I was saying in that video that we're 5 years into the decade. This is crazy. 5 years. 2020 was 5 years ago. 5 more years, and that's 2030. We're finished with this decade. We're finished with 2025, the 2020s decade. Believe it or not. And on to 2030. But the way things are going now, it seems like things are going to get worse before 2030. That's not even a question. That's an automatic yes, things are going to get worse. because people are not wising up out here. I noticed that there's been times where I've wasted time, a whole bunch of time, on pointless things. This news, the news right here, it's important to talk about certain issues. That's fine. But if you just base your whole entire life just doing this, it's depressing. I realized the past 5 years, I've wasted so much time. Talking about politics, about this politician, this, that, and the other. Like I said, I will still do that. But I also have to put things out there that's going to be helpful. And I've already said in this channel that I'm also going to put things that's like self-improvement content, not self-destructive. This right here, this is self-destructive drama feeding off of this. We gotta rise above this. People gonna do what they gonna do. Trump's gonna do what he's gonna do. Kamal's gonna do whatever she's gonna do. His administration, there's some things like even with the whole FBI thing. I mean, these Epstein files is like, my goodness, when is it gonna arrive? We've been waiting. Okay, Biden administration. They had time. They had okay, if this is the thing, if you want to taint somebody's reputation, Trump running, his name being on there, okay, y'all could have released them, and that would have been it for him. But you know why you didn't do that? Because guess what? Y'all names are on there. So both of y'all are screwed. This is a catch-22 situation. Both of their names are on there. Both sides of the political spectrum. So now with the Epstein files are still in the works. Still waiting on it. But this going to be, like, people have to literally be prepared for whatever comes out of it, because there's going to be some people's names that, oh my goodness, people are going to be catching heart attacks over that. I'm preparing myself now. I've already seen that there's people in Hollywood that are having a lot of questionable things happening to them right now. And like, I mean, goodness, like, who knows whose name is going to be on that list? I won't be surprised. I'm just preparing early on. And another thing is, I may talk about this on another live, but I know I'm kind of going off topic. Okay, I went off on a tangent right there. Now, the World Cup, that's a whole different thing. With all this going on, we're supposed to have the whole world to come here next year, right? But if we can't get these issues going on in our backyard street, it would look very embarrassing. We're hosting the World Cup, and the teams have been expanded to 48 teams from 32, which means a lot of countries coming in. Now, most of the matches are going to be played here because that's where most of the venues are. Okay? And then we're co-hosting with Canada and Mexico. And with Haiti qualifying, I know there's been a thing to where Haiti, the whole illegal immigration thing, and now they're coming here to watch their national team playing for almost 50 years, or about over 50 years. In a historic moment for them. There's a thing to where Trump may, we're gonna have to do more research on that. So like I said, I'm not gonna say everything and start speculating without anything to back up, because the thing with me is I want to be able to say things that's actually factual without just speculating and then saying, oh, that's the truth when it's not. So I'm gonna wait on that. But all I'm gonna say is, with this World Cup that's coming next year, is that it's not gonna be good that let me see. Okay. So I think, yeah, I was trying to, like I said, this is my first live, and I'm trying to do the best that I can. I want to see if I can get any comments, so I can see any comments that come in. But like I said, after the replay, anybody that catches the replay or even now, I'll still view it and reply to any comment on any of the comments that y'all may comment. So with that being said, um, it's just not a good look. I'm really interested to see how the World Cup is going to play out next year. I mean, as far as with Canada and then Mexico. I mean, especially Mexico with, the border crisis and all that stuff. We really need to get it together. But we already know that with the way this country is right now, it's kind of far from saving. Everybody's already divided over race, over politics. And to be real with you, I just choose to stay clear of most people because you just never know what kind of timeline they're on. You never know. I've already heard some people saying racial things. I'm talking about black people, and it's like, my goodness. I mean, I understand that the other races, I understand that white people have done some messed up things, but you must forgot that slavery did not just start or just was or came out of Europe. Slavery's always been a thing in the past. You must forgot about the Egyptians. And even to go a step further than that, I don't even have to go back in the past. There's were tribes in Africa that enslaved other tribes, those like on the weaker side. So you have to do your research and understand that how we came here is not what we've been hearing like on the mainstream, that hope white people from Europe just came and just snatch a whole bunch of, I'm just gonna be real, snatch a whole bunch of niggas and put them in the boat and then just came over here to America and handled the Indians the way that they did. They handled the Indians, yes they did do that. And what they did was wrong by displacing them and then putting them in in the desert. You know, that's the part that I truly understand. Many countries have done this. They've come, they've taken over the land, they've done a lot of things, they colonized it. You must forget Australia, the British, the British. There was aboriginals over there. So it is no difference. And I was doing research on that. So trust me, there's other countries to where there's been colonization and also some mistreatment going on. So it's not just America. Even though America has had the worst, there's other things out there that we just have to research. It's only a click away. I say, you know what? I know Australia. I know they have a certain like way how they do things. I said I know that they're like the British are over there too, but I said they colonized Australia, and then I'm starting noticing. I'm like, there's some Australians that don't look British or sound British. Like they look like they lived there for some time. And once I did more research, I'm like, okay, Aboriginals. Same thing with New Zealand. So yeah, I mean, the way how the history is twisted, like it's really having us to hate each other more, or more so the blacks now. And like I said, I don't agree with a lot of things that's going on in this administration, but there's some things that I'm like, okay, the last administration, they could have done better. You know, let's just be real. They could have done better. But now that someone else is in charge, you know, we criticize them, but I'm like, well, where was all that where was all that energy when y'all were in there? Y'all had ample amount of time to do things. And as far as with the Epstein files, y'all could have released them then, but the reason why y'all didn't do it, like I said before, I say it again, y'all knew that there was some people's names on the list that was also on the left side. And let's not forget that Clinton, Bill Clinton, had an affair in the Oval Office. You know, we're dealing with some very messed up people. You people have to understand, you're setting these politicians to a higher standard. They're not God. God is over them. They're doing things out here that just make you think like, what are y'all doing? Like, you know, you're leading the country, but then you're doing this stuff. You have to understand they're human. They're human. So expect those things. Expect them to mess up. Expect them to disappoint you. Last election, I thought about it. I said, should I vote? My mom knew I was already thinking about it. She already knew I was thinking about it. I said, I may sit this one out again because 2020, I had a lot of pressure. People were like, you need to vote. You know, your vote matters, and you know, think about your ancestors and what they fought for. I understand that, but if our ancestors were here today, they would look at me and tell me, Jawan, you're doing right. Even though we fought for this, you know, for the right the vote, we did not fight for the right of any of this, for you to vote for this kind of foolishness. Seriously, they will be in true, if our ancestors, if our family from the past that fought and dealt with a whole bunch of just traumatic and horrifying experiences for us to get to this point. And even with how the black community is right now, they would be truly in disgust. And you know, there's a saying about people that roll around the graves. That's that's like a term that we use a lot, but I try not to use it because as far as with the state of the dead, no one's still walking around. There's no spirit walking around until Jesus, you know, when Jesus come again, then he'll resurrect them. But that's a whole different topic. But just to use that term, they'll be rolling around their graves. Or they're rolling around their graves now because of all this stuff that's going on. This is crazy. The black community's in shambles. We have politicians going back and forth at each other's throats, exchanging words with each other. We're getting entertained. We're sitting on the TV. Like this is a whole like the political debates. I made a joke about this like 5 years ago during the 2020 election. I said this is nothing more than a football game, an American football game. Them taking jabs at each other. This one tackled this issue better than this one. And people just sitting there like, yeah, you go Biden. Yeah, you go Trump. It's nothing different than watching a football game because they're both attacking each other. They're both tackling each other, if you will. Complete joke. So that's why I stayed out the elections. I'm not, like I said, even though most of my views may be conservative, like okay, like yeah, this may not make sense. Okay, yeah, I can agree with you on that, that portion, but really all this politics and stuff is really dividing people, because especially when it comes to going to your family on the holidays. Like I remember last year when I went and I was saying what I thought about the election results, and I clearly made it known. I said I did not vote. I I said I'm not really picking sides, but I said I'm going with what makes the most sense. That's what I said. So as soon as I mention it, it's like it's automatically like just put up a wall, be like, well, you like, come on, man, you got to really think about it. Like, Trump did this and Trump did that. I'm like, I cannot, I can't talk to anybody that doesn't want to be able to do their own due diligence, their own research. You don't have to listen to what I have to say. You can search these things out on your own. Like I said, the news is not going to show everything. There's some news outlets that are biased. See, with me, what I try to do is cover issues on both sides. And even though I haven't done that in a while, I'm starting to get back into it because I've taken a break from it because I realize how draining it is and how majority of the time it's a waste of time because it's taking a lot of time out from my life focusing on things and improving because these people are going to do what they're going to do anyway. But if people would do their research and understand that there's some good and bad people on both sides, but sometimes one side outweighs the bad than the other, then you will understand. And there's some people that's also saying that, oh, I wish I didn't vote for Trump. But see, I didn't. My mom told me, she was like, are you sure you want to vote? She already said she wasn't going to vote. There's going to be things that I may disagree with. And I've already mentioned about the issue with church and state. It shows that Congress, you know what, let me pull that up. Okay? Let me pull that up because some people saying, oh, well, there's some things that Trump is doing that's going against the Constitution, or there's some things that he's doing that is in opposition to the Constitution. But let me show you when the Catholic schools, if y'all remember, like it was probably earlier this summer that they were trying to have taxpayer funds to go to Catholic schools because taxpayer money go to the public schools, but this is a private school, a Catholic school. So let me this book right here. This is where I found that that part of the Constitution from. It's called the Great Controversy. I know this ring like kind of makes things kind of outshine some things that I may show on here. So that's what it's called, the Great Controversy. Like I said, I'm not pushing my religion on anyone. I'm just sharing what God impresses me, or whatever it is that I may be, have some knowledge in, or I may be knowledgeable in. I'm still learning. So that's one book right there. Not pushing religion on anybody. I'm just sharing. Is either it's up to you to take it or leave it. So, as I was saying about the Catholic school being funded by taxpayers, that is something that is going against the U.S. Constitution. I'm going to show you why. It says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. This is the opening clause of the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, known as the Establishment Clause, which forbids the government from creating an official religion or favoring one religion over another. Now, there was another thing. Now, see, this leads to another thing. Now, this topic, like I said, I started off with one, and I may have to do this on another live. So y'all let me know, because I'm almost an hour in. It's like 59 minutes and 55 seconds. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this off shortly. But this really has me on the roll right now. I really have to share these things while I can, because I may forget about it. But I mean this, but while it's on my mind right now, let me go ahead and just search it on so I can show y'all. So um getting funded. But Catholic school receives taxpayer money. Let's see. Okay, so here it is. Um, where is it? 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 All right, so the situation now. This is an AI overview, and even though I don't really trust, you still have to do your research, because right now, Google right now, if y'all can see this, this ring light is very it's like a nuisance right now. But with the AI overview, is that it pretty much like shows like the most, I guess, prominent findings when you're searching something on Google, which can be helpful, but at the same time, it's like you still have to do your deep research. Sometimes you can't go based off of the first thing that you see. But what it does say is a situation where Muslim schools get less funding than Catholic schools often involves complex legal battles over the separation of church and state. With recent U.S. Supreme Court rulings like Carson versus Mackin, generally favoring religious schools access to public funds if states offer broader private school choice, but state laws and interpretations like Oklahoma's can still block funding for religiously infused charter schools, leading to the ongoing debate and litigation about equal access and constitutional boundaries for taxpayer money and faith-based education. Now, you can send your kids off to that school, but when it comes to favoring one religion over another, then there's a conflict of interest right there. We're not trying to have church and state being reunited. Now with Pope Francis, he had passed early this year, right? And now he's from Argentina. So now we have an American Pope. So it's like no telling that there may be some more, religious things being pushed. And like I say, I'm not in opposition with that, because we should have God in society. However, if you're forcing everyone to just cower down to one religion, then that's not freedom, and that's where it's going to eventually lead to. But let me go ahead and finish this live off. I went off on the tangent. Let's see. All right, so to finish this off with the son, like I said, he was dealing with a lot of issues. Let's see, where is it? is it? Where is it? Where is? Trying to find out when they say when they talk about his drug addiction. But he had a drug addiction, and it just only made his mental health problems even worse. So let's see if I can. All right, so this from Northeastern Global News this is like 12 hours ago. Like I said, I made um, make like a commentary so that way I can have everything in line. So it said, did Nick Reiner's drug use mask long-standing mental health problems? Experts say drug use may be the first red flag to come to parents' attention when a child is dealing with symptoms of mental illness. Nick Reiner has been open about his addictions, even collaborating with his famous father, Rob Reiner, about drug rehab and family tensions in the autobiography. Oh my goodness, I'm starting so bad. Autobiographical movie, Being Charlie. But in the days since the 32-year-old was charged with murder for the stabbing deaths of his parents, Rob and Rob and Michelle Reiner, a picture has emerged of a young man who was also beset by mental health problems. So it also goes on to say psychologists at Northeastern University said people with depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, or bipolar disorder tend to use alcohol and drugs more than the general population. And then right here it says tabloid news service TMZ reported that Nick, yeah, I'm gonna have to put it right here so y'all can see where I'm getting the news source from. Matter of fact, let me scroll back up. See Northeastern Globe. If y'all want to check that out on your own time, y'all can. So, um, yeah, tabloid news service TMZ reported that Nick has been diagnosed with schizophrenia, a complex psychotic disorder, while the New York Post quoted a family friend as saying Nick's outbursts at age 11 were so severe he had to be restrained in bear hugs. So he's been dealing with this for a while. And as a result, when you have a vice, you want to do something else to kind of cope with that other device, and as a result of that, it creates more problems. So that's what this is. That's exactly what happened here. But what I disagree with is that people are also blowing this out of proportion. They don't let a horrific tragedy go to waste. Now it's more so focused on Trump. I'm like, Trump is getting all the attention. I'm like, bro, you're on the news every day. You're on comedy, late night comedy shows. I mean, you're getting attention. There's no need for you to even go to this extent to get even more attention. So right now, we're seeing that, or right now it's getting deflected. Like the attention is getting deflected off of the sun, and it's getting more focus on Trump because of the comment that he made. So it's this is crazy. I mean, this is sad for it to get to this point. It should have never gotten to this point. And they need to focus on the case and why the son did what he did. And like I said, Trump really stirred up a lot of stuff based, just based off of him making this kind of comment. But I'm gonna go ahead and end the video. Y'all can look back over Yeah, like I said, this right here is Northeastern. This is the last. This is the article that I read about the son's drug. Oh, y'all forgive me, man. It's already late as it is. My mind is going all over the place. I'm trying to formulate my words to the best of my ability. But Northeastern Global News, that's that's the article, the last article that I read, pretty much explaining how how his son had mental problems during his childhood and how he took the drugs as a way to kind of cope with that issue, but it made more problems. So y'all can read that. Y'all can read more of that. Just look more into that. You know, just do research on that. And if any of y'all dealing with vices, you know, y'all just cut it out because y'all don't want to lead to this. And like I said, you know, take time. If y'all watch my videos, my random thought videos, I will always be saying, you know, take time to go out, walk. You want to clear things off your mind because after a while it can get so pent up and build up to where you're just, you know, anything can just make you mad, set you off. It can be simply you dropping a pencil or dropping a cookie out, you know, a cookie falls out your hand and you just, oh my goodness, you turn into a whole tornado, and just over that cookie falling on the ground, y'all tear up everything because that was the last good cookie that came out the package, and then you know, you get the point. Like anything that you do, and you know, even just any little thing that you may mess up on, you may get mad at and just lose, just just flip your lid. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. I'm tired. Y'all can see I'm trying to articulate my words. I'm fumbling over my words. It's been a long day, and this live was supposed to be done like 2 hours ago. And, yeah, I'm going to end it there. Anybody that will catch the replay, I will, and even during the live, I'll read the comments in the comment section. Y'all let me know your thoughts and opinions about this. But yeah, until the next one, sign out, and also look for any posts that I may put in regards to like another live, and then also let me know what topics that y'all want to talk about. Just put it anytime I post like the time that I may go live, just post or not post, I'm sorry. Comment under the post which topic you may want me to talk about. Okay. But until next one, that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and go to bed, and I'll catch y'all later. Have a good night.